Hey guys, welcome back to session 11. This is almost our last lesson together, and so I want to kind of cover moving forward and maintaining your sense of freedom from unforgiveness as you move forward, even after this course is done. So I hope that this course has helped you lay a foundation, really, for how you need to be approaching life. First of all, you know the importance of making predetermined decisions and how to handle certain situations that you know are going to arise again and again in life. And that way it takes off the pressure of trying to respond correctly right away in that moment. I also hope you've been using the tools to keep accountability of what's going on in your inner world so that you understand when the soil of your heart is starting to get rocky or thorny, and you're able to root out any bitterness before it becomes a full-blown tree. The next thing I hope you've learned how to do is to develop through discipline, through self-discipline, a very firmly planted prayer life with God. You are completely submitted to His will. You understand what it takes to walk with Him fully in the Spirit, and you are dedicated to making a lifestyle of it. I don't want you to just do this 12-week course and then call that quits. I hope that this really sparks the passion, the desire for you to kind of do these things on a regular basis, and not just for your own self, but maybe get your family involved, teach your children how to do it, raise them up doing this. So now you are, gone through most of the steps of forgiveness. Maybe you've done these things again and again, and I just want to say, good for you. I'm glad that you are sticking with it. There's nothing like getting free, especially once you've been bound for so long and you experience freedom. It's like you can never imagine going back. One of the things that I do every day is I set my will every single day to forgive anybody who does anything wrong to me. I'm not saying that people are going to do something wrong to me every single day. I'm just saying that I've already made a predetermined decision that I'm not going back. I'm going to forgive them, and I state my will out loud. God, I've already decided I'm going to forgive everybody who does anything wrong to me today. Holy Spirit, help me to stay in step with you as I walk out today. Don't let any offenses stick in my heart. I turn over all the offenses and the offenders to you, God. I am free from them. And so even before I get out of bed, before I get outside of my door every day, I've already made this decision. I'm going to be free today. Okay? You can't have any hold, any place in my life any longer. And I've made that commitment, and I've stuck with it, and I really encourage you to do the same. I do want to talk very quickly about the importance of renewing your mind. If you cannot shift your internal perspective on a situation, regardless of what it is, you are going to repeat that issue again and again. Why? Because there is a lesson for you to be learned in every hardship. And I've talked about this before in the class, I know, but I just want to say it again. The importance of renewing your mind. When you come across something that's a hardship, a difficulty in life, you should never leave it without gaining something. You should be stronger. You should be wiser. There's something you should have gotten by going through that thing. And if you cannot learn how to quickly adjust and quickly renew your mind, you're going to get stuck into these patterns, into these same situations over and over again, instead of passing that test and moving on to the next phase of life. So in my next mentorship class, the one on trust, we deal a lot with understanding the season of life that you're in, and how this impacts the way that you approach life. The way that you approach that situation, how you approach the relationships that you form, how you form them, consequences and things like that. But I do want you to know that that is important. So if you can't identify what you're doing right now, like what season of life you're in, where you're going, as in like an overall destination, what is your destiny, and if you can't identify what's keeping you in this season right now, why can't you move forward? If you cannot identify those three things, you're going to be doing the same thing for a hot minute. So I just want to encourage you to be paying attention and renewing your mind. I believe I have an ebook. I do have an ebook on renewing your mind. It's free. You can download it on my website if that's something that you would like, step-by-step kind of instructions on how to approach the process of renewing your mind when you're first getting started, okay? The other thing that I want to say is that, just very, very quickly again, is that you are destined to become the thing that makes up most of you. If unforgiveness has such a stronghold in your life because of abuse or because of neglect or because of some wrong that was done to you, you are destined to become that. This is why people of abuse become the abusers. This is why, people who have had an unstable child home growing up, one parent was gone or something like that, tend to repeat those mistakes because it's what they're most aware of. It's what their focus is on most of the time. And so without knowing it, I've talked about this before, but when you spend a lot of time avoiding situations, avoiding people and places that remind you of something uncomfortable instead of dealing with it, you are still, that's an indicator that that thing is taking up a large piece of property in your heart. And so you've got to deal with that, or you are destined to become the thing that you hate. So moving forward, one of the things that I did as well was when I started to feel, I don't want to say anger, but I would start to feel some sort of way, like a resentment, something was starting to form in me that could have, eventually turned into an offense or a resentment towards that person or something like that. I immediately started to recognize it, and I would do an action in order to break me from it. So sometimes that meant that I would sow a seed into them, right? I would literally send them money, or I would serve them in some way. I knew that they had a need, and I would go out and make it happen for them. I would write them a prayer for the day. I would just ask God, give me a prayer for them, and I would send it to them in a message or an email. I started to do actions that demonstrated what I wanted to be. So even if I didn't feel like it, right? My soul was like, no. My spirit was like, oh no, I run the show. Body, you'll start typing, or body, you're going to go over there and make them a meal or whatever. And so I allowed my actions to be on the outside of me, to dictate what would happen on the inside of me. So I allowed my outside world, what my body did, to help shape my inside world. And again, this is why fasting is so important, and prayer, it's so important. You can't move forward in life without those things. And I mean dedicated to it, not just like sporadically once in a while, but being in prayer, intentionally every single day. So you have some exercises and some reflections to do for this week that have to do with where you see your life going and how forgiveness can aid in where you want to get to. Okay, so that is, those are listed at the end of the PDF. Again, I have a whole ebook that I wrote on renewing your mind with step-by-step instructions if you're not familiar with how do I do it, how can I implement it. That ebook, it's for free, it's on my website, and it can help you get started with that. Okay guys, I will see you in next video for lesson 12.